My name is Jordan Eston. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Ballot Group. Ballot Group, we are launching and have developed a brand new voting system for government elections, state and local municipalities across this country and throughout the world. And with our goal is to bring greater transparency all across the board. So many of you vote or hate the idea of the current systems. You saw the 2000 debacle and all the issues out there. Well, that still exists today. And these are all articles from within the last 6 months, right? About the aging systems across the country, about the voting crisis out there, a presidential report about the pending crisis, election officials saying this. This is all out. The Daily Show just did a great piece about the terrible systems that are being out there. So what we did was we came across and wanted to develop a product that replaced those voting systems. It's a huge market all across the country, over $500 million a year spent on voting, and even larger throughout the world. And so we wanted to address that with something that really took it in a couple steps, right? The first is a paper-based solution, because a vast majority of the country today still votes with paper. It's auditable, it's less expensive, it's accessible for a number of different voters. And the gap and the jump to what is in the future, and we'll talk about that in a second, still starts with paper. And we want to make sure that we're able to serve the counties and jurisdictions out there today. The big difference with our system is we take a digital image of that paper. We're a software company that partners with commercial hardware, but we take a digital image of that paper ballot, and then we can catalog the election across every single voter and every single ballot out there. We'll show you a quick demo. The other piece of this is the other side of this, on the other top of the paper, is an HTML voting experience, where accessibility voters, military voters, overseas voters, all have the opportunity to vote on an HTML browser interface, print out then a paper ballot if they're at the polling place, and have that audit trail continue. This is an example of the paper-based solution, right? Improving, it was a lot like His Commons in that the type of technology out there today is just so archaic, it's so much in the past. It's very much like a Scantron with an SAT test, right? When the ballot goes through, it's saying yes or no, and all of a sudden if you have a close race, right? If you have one candidate with 50,000 or 100,000 votes and another with 10 votes less, they currently have to go to a manual recount, right? And they have to put out hundreds of thousands of ballots, and in some cases millions of ballots, and count these ballots by hand, which takes weeks, which costs thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. With Ballot, we're taking a digital image of every single ballot. We can look at the ovals and the votes there for Bill Nelson, or his votes, his overvotes, and votes that didn't count. We can pull up on the screen instantly every single contest, every single ballot, and have this innate transparency, first for the election officials, so that they know that they had a good and transparent election, but then for the voters, right? And we have counties out there and customers that actually put these results out there for the public to see, for the public to go in and say, yes, this voter, this candidate actually got 50,000 votes, 100,000 votes, etc. So that is the paper-based solution. One of the products we just launched is an in-person voting system, which takes that paper, immediately scans an image of the paper, and then the results are all accumulated together. The size of that machine, which we actually have out there, is a fourth the size of our competitors' machines. So if you voted in Boston or anywhere else, a lot of the competitive machines look a bit like dumpsters, maybe, is what a lot of people would compare them to. And they're huge, right? And they have to wheel them out, and they have to bring them to thousands of different precincts. This can be carried out to a precinct and put in a precinct, takes a digital image. We met some Verizon guys here today. We're starting to talk about the opportunity of modeming back results very quickly for those that want to, jurisdictions that want to or able to. So a lot of different opportunities. And we've come together with Intel for some security in the processing. And we're working with Intel in a number of different areas in this. The last piece here is our HTML voting, where it's either a touch screen or any browser-based voting system. They vote the ballot, and then it puts the marks onto an actual paper ballot, which can either be printed out, could be securely saved as a PDF, and brings a whole host of options to what we think is the future, right? Obviously the future is mobile voting, internet voting, remote voting, but we want to make sure we do paper ballots right first. The last thing is we entered the state of Oregon first. We won Portland. We now have 50% market share in the state of Oregon. as our first state, and we're going now across the country. We expect to be in Massachusetts in 2017 and in many other states there as well. Thank you very much, and come see us. Questions? No questions. Yeah. What's the margin of error in our software? Well, the first thing is it's incredibly transparent, right? So there are cases where we will actually make a small mistake or someone doesn't quite fill in the oval right, and in the current systems when that happens, it just doesn't get counted, right? And so there'll be very small errors where those don't get counted. In our system, we have a section of what we call undervotes, which were not initially counted by the software, but are immediately visible to the election official. So if you barely filled in the oval, if some people used a pencil, even if you circled the name of the candidate, those are all picked up instantly, anything in a rectangular area. And so the election official sees it right away. So any errors that do occur, they're instantly visible to the election officials. Yeah?
Why still paper? Why do you have to default to paper after you click the vote electronic?
Yeah, as compared to like just a touchscreen? Yeah, well, one of the issues is cost. So with touchscreen, you have to have simultaneous voting across the screen. So if you are going into a precinct to have 15 people vote at the same time, a precinct would have to buy 15 different touchscreen systems for just to have in one precinct. And you multiply that by the number of counties, right? So with this system, you're voting. You're still marking it by paper, and then you're filling it in. The touchscreen aspect that we have is for accessibility voters, for disabled voters, or for states in this country that bring in 15 precincts into one they call vote centers, where they don't have to have all these ballots printed and they're touching the screen. But the cost and the audit trail, so one of the big issues with touchscreen voting is there's no audit trail. So if you just mark a touchscreen and then the votes are taken out from that, there's no audit trail. And so there's been a lot of push recently. State of Florida spent $25 million on touchscreen voting systems in the mid-2000s, scrapped them all and went back to paper because of that audit trail and because of the cost, the long-term cost of simultaneous voting.